This is a press statement of the high-level mediation for South Sudan Tumaini Initiative, which is issued today following the adjournment of the Tumaini Initiative at the request of the government of South Sudan. This statement will be comprehensive to take you through the journey of the Tumaini Initiative until where we are today. Since May 2024, the Tumaini Initiative has been convened in Nairobi, Kenya, at the request of His Excellency President Salva Kiir Mayardit of the Republic of South Sudan and His Excellency President William Samoei Ruto of the Republic of Kenya, in order to reach out to the holdout groups and other opposition members non-signatory to our axis. This is with the objective of achieving an inclusive and sustainable peace and a democratic transformation in South Sudan. The mediation has been going on for 10 months and has been co-chaired by IGAD and the community of Singidio, who previously held this brief. The 8 Tumaini protocols were developed, and throughout the process of sustained negotiation culminated in these protocols, which are as follows. Number 1, Trust and Confidence Building Protocol, Protocol on Permanent Ceasefire, Security Arrangement and Reforms, Protocol on Humanitarian Access and Support, Protocol on Communal Conflict, Armed Civilians and Land Disputes, Protocol on Economic Recovery, Resource and Financial Management, Protocol on Justice Sector Reform, Transitional Justice and Accountability, Protocol on Permanent Constitution-Making Process, and the Protocol on Guarantors. Only the Protocol on Responsibility Sharing was outstanding. Following this agreement, the RT-GONU delegation retreated to Juba for consultation in August 2024, during which time the R-axis was extended for another 2 years. When the RT-GONU delegation returned to Nairobi, it was with a substantially different composition, and therefore negotiation restarted afresh. Finally, following sustained negotiation again in the month of December and January, an agenda was adopted recently, which include, among others, the negotiating parties, the root causes of conflict in South Sudan, the relationship between our axis and the Tumaini protocols, and responsibility sharing. The root causes, as one of the key agenda items, was extensively deliberated throughout by a joint technical committee, which summarized the root causes of conflict in South Sudan as follows. Number 1, political governance and leadership crisis. Number 2, power struggle. Number 3, structural and institutional weaknesses. Number 4, economic crisis and resource mismanagement. Number 5, insecurity and militarization of society. Number 6, lack of social cohesion and historical factors. And finally, external and geopolitical influences. Given the acute human insecurity and humanitarian crisis in South Sudan, the mediation believes that action must be taken for there to be effective mechanism for implementation. The mediation is of the view that there are 3 priority areas of critical importance necessary to end the perpetual transition in South Sudan and usher in a new political dispensation. These priority areas are: 1, the unification of forces and security sector reforms; 2, permanent constitutional making process; 3, the holding of free, fair, credible, and transparent elections. The Artigonu delegation, as we said, requested to adjourn the mediation, despite the fact that this mediation had adopted a sustained and continuous negotiation and mediation process agreed with the leadership in Juba and Nairobi. And the mediation has been going on for the last 10 months continuously, supported in terms of resources, political and diplomatic support by the Republic of Kenya, with some minimal support from the international community. The parties gave us some views and opinions about the relationship between the two, together with, of course, the stakeholders. This is a work in progress, which we'll be able to delve into in details when negotiation resumes again.
So we can say we're done with the root causes. Now, when you resume, what are we expecting to be tabled?
At least root causes, the parties agreed on key areas which I have outlined for you, and that they have also the technical committee, the joint technical committee of the parties and the stakeholders are also working to get other sub-issues with regards to the 7 issues that I outlined, so that we also try to find out whether these are captured in RXs and the Tumaini protocol. Well, the reason for the adjustment from the government, you can ask them. They requested. In consultation with the stakeholders and the opposition, they also have their own opinion about, because the parties expected sustained and continuous negotiation, which has been the methodology of this process from last year. So this is how we were able to arrive at the 8 protocols. Under sustained and continuous mediation, we were able to develop those protocols in record time. So we expected actually to build on the guidance provided by His Excellency President Salva and President William Ruto during their summit in Juba, so that we are able to conclude this process within the. We are past the time that they gave us, but we hope that we thought that we will be in a position to give the people of South Sudan this agreement within the month of January. Yes, we provided the program of work. The program of work, of course, is a program of work, a draft program of work, and we thought that within 1 week we'll be in a position to provide substantial progress to the process. But the request of the government came in as we were negotiating, and so we had to adjourn this process. Adjournment is usually the rights of the parties. They can ask adjournment at any given time. So it could be for various reasons. Therefore, we don't see it as a problem as such, but the onus is now on the government to say when they will like to resume. The parties, the opposition and the stakeholders, actually they are ready even to continue, even today, even tomorrow. It's only that when the government put this request, they have to abide by at the guidance of the mediation. Thank you.
The leadership of the United People's Alliance, UPA, would like to inform our supporters, our members, citizens, regional and international community that unfortunately the government of South Sudan has decided to walk out once again from the Tumaini Initiative. The government delegation's negative, obstructive, and anti-Tumaini behavior reflects that achieving peace is not their priority. They don't care whether there is peace in the country or not. They don't care whether our citizens have food on the table. They don't care whether our civil servants get their salaries. It has been now 14 months without salary. This is not their priority, we know that. It also demonstrates their aloofness to the suffering of our people and their inability to comprehend what is needed in order to rescue the country from imminent collapse and total disintegration. Nevertheless, UPA is committed now more than ever to bring sustainable peace, rule of law, and democracy. If the government was serious and committed on this round of the talk, negotiations would have proceeded, peace would have been achieved. We thank His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya. We thank General Lazarus Somboyo, the Chief Mediator, and his team. We thank IGAD and the community of San Egidio for their unwavering commitment to realizing peace in South Sudan. We also thank the media personnel who have been with us for almost 10 months, waiting outside to hear and take the message home. We really thank you for your hard work, and we appreciate that. That is your national duty. We also encourage the people of South Sudan to remain resilient and hopeful during this difficult time. This will pass. Peace will prevail. Our country, South Sudan, will be one day a country that all of us will be proud of. A country with prosperity, justice, equality, and freedom for all. There are two things that we could have achieved from the Tumaini Initiative. Number one, the reason the salaries are not paid is not because South Sudan is a poor country. That's not true. Our country probably is one of the richest countries in the region. But our resources are mismanaged. For instance, if you talk about revenue, there are countries here in the region and even in Africa and all the world depend on the revenue. If our revenue are collected properly and managed, for example, when we had a foreigner managing the revenue authority as a leader, that person within a very short time has collected enough amount of money that was able to pay for all the salaries and all the government expenses. He was removed. Then has been replaced by many people. From there, the resources have gone down. So this is not the fact that we don't have money. No, we do. That is number one. And people of South Sudan has to make sure and fight for their right to make sure that these resources are managed. Second, the other way also would have paid the salary. Under Tumaini Initiative, we have what we agree with one of European countries, that I will not mention the name now, that it will organize a donor conference, similar to one that was organized during the days of CPA. That donor conference will bring region and international community, will bring a lot of money, but this money, we also agreed that they will be managed by the donors, by members of UPA, by civil society, by eminent personnel, and by the government, because we want to show transparency. If these two things are done, trust me, not only the paying salaries, but then we will have schools to pay, not only to pay the teachers, but actually we are going to hire a qualified teacher to teach our children. Because now, as we speak, here alone in Kenya, 20,000 of South Sudanese children from P1 to university are educated here. And these kids that have been educated, the money are being paid mostly by the Kenyan taxpayers. Unfortunately, these kids that are here, majority of them, I will not say all of them, but majority of them, happen to be kids of most of people who are negotiating on this table and in the government, the elites, whether these political or military elites, their kids are in Uganda, they are all over the world enjoying the education. But the children of farmers, of our people in Bantu, everywhere in South Sudan, those kids, either there's no classroom, teacher cannot even teach how a teacher will be teaching. Once he cannot get his salary for 14 months, what even can he eat, leave alone teaching? So we will have, this money can help teachers to help to improve our education. It can help with roads, not the one that we always see. The company will come and pretend that they are building road. Next year you see it is already washed off. We need highways, serious major highways, and railways, and so many roads. If this money were to get them and they are managed, we can actually get not only that, but we also have a healthcare. As we speak, many of our women in the villages deliver without even hospitals. So this is a serious matter. And we, the people of South Sudan, could do this. Only we need leadership to address this issue. The communique was read to us before it was released. This is an exact summary of what happened or what is happening with Tumaini Initiative since in May when we started. The mediation have covered everything that need to be informed. In my view, as someone who has been part of this process from day one, this communique has covered all the details that needed. It is a document that is representing the facts. It is showing in all details really what has been facing the process and what we have achieved. What is more important in that document, it has also indicated what we have. This round, the biggest thing we have achieved, and this is what I shared yesterday, it is the fact that the government delegation and UPA and also the stakeholders, we will finally agree as South Sudanese that the root causes of the conflict in our country are mainly two: strategic leadership failure and power struggle. And we even went to have subtitles as how this thing is affecting us. And in UPA, we believe, and this is where we are not going to commit to any agreement that does not address the root cause of conflict. So this is a good step. Also, we have agreed on the agenda of the talks. And this is also make it easy that we are discussing issues, not the side shows. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the press. I am privileged to make this statement as the Tumaini Consensus, Tumaini Initiative, Session 2 comes to an adjournment that were requested by the Government of the Republic of South Sudan and accepted by the mediation. We requested for the adjournment because the members of delegation, beginning with the head of delegation, have responsibility to prepare the country for the coming in of the newly approved extension
of the revitalized agreement on the conflict in the Republic of South Sudan. And it's necessary that now Kulmanyang, being the head of the National Transitional Committee, which is charged with the responsibility of completing the security sector arrangements, has to take over and start that process. But also the members, senior members of the delegation, beginning with Pot being the deputy chair of the National High-Level Standing Committee, myself being Secretary General, Dr. Lamakol and Albino and others are members of the High-Level Standing Committee. They have the responsibility of going to prepare the institutions that are responsible for the implementation of the revitalized agreement in order for us to begin the new transition on 22nd of February this year. So it was important that we requested for that adjournment and bring together all the institutions responsible to give us the status report as to how we move forward and report to the presidency before 22nd. So that's the reason why we requested for adjournment. I want to thank the Tumaini Mediation for accepting our request. That, of course, does not mean we have abandoned the Tumaini Initiative. It's an important initiative, it is an important process, which we also focus on, and we will be looking at some of the challenges that we incurred in the last session in order for us to have a way forward, a logical, coherent process that does not lose the new points that might come of this process, but that does not jeopardize the revitalized agreement as well. Let me just share with you some of the key issues that were raised. You recall that the Tumaini protocols first were taken to South Sudan, to Juba, and handed to the presidency in June last year. And the presidency requested us to analyze them in order to see if they are all aligned to the revitalized agreement. I headed that, and we found that there were 8 points of difference. Those 8 points, 4 of them were easy because there's just a copy and paste from the revitalized agreement, but we identified key areas in security arrangement and in governance. And in the security arrangement, it was the inclusion of a commission named Security Sector Reform and Oversight Commission, which commission undermines the function of the JDB, Joint Defense Force. They have added on the JDBS to reflect security in the belief that the security sector was not fully represented. That, of course, is not true because all the sections of our security, the army, the police, the prison, national security, are included in JDB. In any case, that is not a key point. But the key point is, our objection is the creation of another structure, another institution that is independent from the Ministry of Defense, independent from national security, independent from the Ministry of Interior, and doing all the job that is being done now by the JDB. We felt that undermines the RR access, and it could cause a lot of chaos in the country. So we objected to that. Also, in the governance, they created structures, National Leadership Council, that was supposed to give leadership to the country. And that, of course, undermines the function of the sovereign institution of the Republic of South Sudan, which is the presidency, which objected to that. And they created another one called the National Implementation and Oversight Commission, that is supposed to be a secretariat to the National Leadership Council. and we do not have much objection to that. We could work on it and see its function. Its function mainly is to manage money given by the government of South Sudan, the region, international community or partners, and that we can discuss that. But then they created, again, under governance, the high-level panel. The high-level panel is to take all the leaders of the region to become the people who manage and oversee how South Sudan, how the Tumaini Initiative is implemented, and they only mentioned Tumaini Initiative solutions or protocols. And we felt that is not necessary because the Revitalize Agreement is a product of the region. It is a project of IGAD, African Union, international community, and they're all represented in RJMEC, in the Revitalized Joint Monitoring Evaluation Commission. So we felt that was also not necessary. So these are the major issues that we are wrangling with. Our instruction from the presidency and even IGAD, Ismail Weiss reacted very positively that the our access cannot be tampered with. And so we are in commonality with IGAD and the region, and of course instructions from the leadership, from the presidency, is that the R-axis cannot be replaced. A new agreement cannot be created by merging Tumaini Initiative, but that the Tumaini contribution can be considered as an annex or a complement to the R-axis. So that's important to mention. They have said that the Tumaini Initiative protocols have been initialed and agreed. That is incorrect, unfortunately, because the protocols brought in June were only initialed by our previous team. An initial document is to say this is the document, but it's not agreed and is subject to amendment as well. Then the mediation sent another set of documents in August because we commented and we pointed out the issue of contradiction with the R-axis. And again, the mediation looked at our comments, our response to the June protocols, and unfortunately, they did not do much. The comments we made, the contradictions, the repetitions, and the new structures remain the same. And so we also objected to those as well. So when they talk about protocols having been agreed, that's not correct. That is a misrepresentation of the truth, which the government of South Sudan delegation objected to. Then we proceeded on the beginning of this session with a new agenda. The agenda was agreed to be, we begin with discussing the relationship between the R-axis and the Revitalized Agreement on the Regional Conflict in the Republic of South Sudan. The reason being, we want to determine what is this Tumaini Initiative supposed to produce. Is it a replacement to the R-axis? Do they want to merge it so that we create a new agreement? Or is it an annex? And that was important to determine that, because our position is that any agreement we reach with anybody, the backbone to it is the R-axis. Anything else that comes in will have its name as an annex, as a complement. Remember, the R-axis has maintained peace in our country for 6 years. People have been working and structures have been developed, from the presidency to the cabinet, to the ministries, and all these institutions, to the governors, to the deputy governors, to the ministers of state, to the commissions, and then the commissions responsible for the implementation of the various important sections of the agreement. Now, and these institutions, of course, the judiciary and the parliament have also been done, and these institutions have already written their responsibilities and duties, There are laws establishing these institutions. There are policies and programs that are being implemented. Anything that disturbs these processes and the laws that are being generated in the parliament, in our view, will compromise the peace that we enjoy. Yes, we have challenges of implementation, but we are determined to ensure that the 24 months extension will address these challenges. And so we don't see any reason why the RRs can be replaced or merged to become a new agreement. Now, in the agenda, suddenly another 2 sets of agenda points were included, and that is the identity of the negotiating parties. That a bit of a shock for us, and this came because we questioned, when we came in, we realized that the opposition and the whole up groups, which is the body we are negotiating with throughout, and the body that's included in the protocols of June and of August, and that is the body we're negotiating with, now calls itself United People's Alliance. Now, United People Alliance is a political military organization formed not only in Kenya, but in this hotel where a negotiation is taking place. And so we questioned it, the mediation, and they didn't seem disturbed. But we pushed on. For us, this is now a political military organization. That means, and not only that, they are promoting generals and divided South Sudan into 10 military zones, which means they intend to fight. Again, they came, the president, vice president, minister of defense, deputy secretary general, and ministers. So some of them even joke outside that we're negotiating with the government. That's okay. So you call yourself whatever, that's fine. But for the purpose of this negotiation, we are negotiating with the opposition and whole lot groups, nothing else. They turn around and say, well, we don't even recognize the Artigo. We don't recognize the R-axis. We said, okay, let's negotiate with their names. Let's pack it for now, because we want to proceed. We want to be positive. So we left that one there. But now again, when they come to negotiate, they always call themselves UPA. We ignore it. We kept on going. And then we came to the root causes, which has been spoken over and over again for nearly 5 years, during the Addis Ababa negotiations, during Khartoum negotiations. We went to Sentejidi for 4 years, nothing happened. This time we said, no, give us a list. So we got a list, a summary of the list from the mediation, which was 11 points. We got 2 points from the opposition, just leadership failure, and leadership crisis, and then the second is the power struggle. We expected more, but having put this to what they call root causes gives you a lot to think about the political objectives of the opposition. The stakeholders gave us 6 points. They were more elaborate. They were more, if you like, more focused on areas which truly could be referred to as some root causes in delivery of service and reform, institutional reform. But in all, we found them all to be matters of institutional reform, which are there. They are contained in the text of the revitalized agreement on judicial conflict in the Republic of South Sudan. And they gave us this 19, and we actually, government, looked at them and saw that some of them are similar. So we summarized them, and they have adopted it. That it is political, governance, leadership crisis, the power struggle, economic crisis and resource management, structural and institutional weaknesses, security and militarization of the society, lack of society cohesion and historical factors, and finally external and geopolitical influences. All these are issues to do with institutional reform, whether they are governance institution or the security institution or whether they are foreign policies, and we have identified what can be done, the solution to them. We are ready to proceed with that. And so when we started then on these root causes, we actually reached to the point of forming a technical committee that would harmonize and work on the solutions that will be that are required, so that we see if they're in our access, then we leave them out. If they're not in our access, then we list them. If they're in the Tumaini, we also list them, and then find solution to them so that we can now form a protocol on root causes. But then we were called in, having the technical committee having met, we were called in with the mediation and the opposition, only to be told that the mediation has decided to issue a communique, and that communique was not subject to comment from both sides. And we felt that in the communique, there are things that are incorrect, things I've mentioned here now, because they would present us in a way that is the government that is being difficult to reach an agreement. We came here with honesty, and we felt that some of the issues need to be taken back to the presidency, and even request our leadership to ask the Republic of Kenya. These opposition and rollout groups formed a political military organization here in Kenya. What's your view? The president has already raised that concern, because it's a serious matter that an organization that is formed during peace talk and in a country, a friendly country, and there is nothing mentioned, nobody's talked about it. We will request our leadership to have a response to request his colleague here in order to give us a way forward. They have proposed also something else, that they should be, they will prioritize. Instead of the matters that are discussed in the protocol, they want to give priority to 3 things: security reform, permanent constitution-making process, and holding of free, credible, transparent election. We said these processes are already ongoing. We have the whole of the NTC dealing with security issues, and they're going on to phase 2. We have a whole commission for the National Constitutional Review Commission already progressing and doing its work. And then we also have a National Election Commission that is also doing its work, established structures and moving forward. They are not necessary to be mentioned. They're also there in the articles of the RRCs. So we felt that this was unnecessary, but it appears to me that there's something we don't understand, and some people insist that this must be prioritized. So we want to tell the people of South Sudan and our leadership that we are focused to any process, but we're also cognizant of our duty to make sure that the process does not contradict, jeopardize, or even bring down their access, either by merging it or replacing it altogether. What would happen to all the parties that represent the 45 parties in 5 partnerships that represent the government of the Republic of South Sudan established? The country is established. The country is going through reform. Like any country new country, there are challenges that require establishment of laws and regulations, building capacity of people who run the system, and enforcing the rule of law, so that institutions can now become robust and able to deliver on the important responsibility of government. We feel that we're doing a good job. We're respecting the Tumaini process, but we also respect the direction of our leadership to make sure that both President Ruto and President Salva achieve the objective for which they established this initiative. There is reference to some communique issued on the 6th of November, and that the two presidents had agreed that the process proceed with the protocols as initialed or as agreed in 2 weeks. That's incorrect. I don't want to go into details, but the way with which the communique was developed was rushed. None of us reviewed it, not even our minister in the office of the president. So one side drafted it and suddenly quickly announced. But the report by President Ruto of their discussion with the president was very clear that the government has concerns. Those concerns ought to be addressed, and that the process should start in 2 weeks, not end in 2 weeks. I was there present, others through press. And so the president was more clear than the communique itself. We want to clear these things in the air because there's a lot of propaganda out there that we are being difficult. We're not being difficult. We have a responsibility to deliver this country through elections. And that's our responsibility. And we have only 24 months to go, and we are focused, determined to make sure that this process proceeds ahead. Thank you.